Welcome, RoundTable family, to another exciting episode of the Sports RoundTable Trio Edition. I'm your host,
Super
Rowdy.
Bowl spectacular.
As always, joined by my co-host, Coop. And big boy, it is the Super Bowl preview, boys. And it is a loaded one. We got all the guests coming to you starting here within the next couple minutes, man. And it's going to be good. We're going to get all their input. We got a 49ers guy. We got some Kansas City guys. We got some of our normal guys that come on, talk about football, just football guys that are coming on talking with us, man. And then later in the show, we're going to have the Mike Hardge on for figuring out the 40 segment. It's going to be great. But boys, how are we doing?
Good. Pretty good, man. Our last episode got pretty heated. It was one of my favorite ones, but it got pretty heated. So, I'll try to tone it back a little bit.
Yeah, you need to calm down there, little guy. But no, it's been a good week. I'm ready for this Super Bowl. A lot of stuff going on. It's the last game, so let's make it a good one.
Our life ends for a few months after this.
Yeah, I have to go back to actually hanging out with the family and stuff.
No, man. We're just gonna have to. We'll have to turn over to. Still be able to talk about the NFL. A lot happens in the offseason.
It never stops. Combine's next, and then the draft, then free agency, then we're right back at it. So,
breaking news as we record this.
What?
The Cowboys are expected to hire blank as their defensive coordinator. Who is it, big boy?
If you say Rex Ryan, dude, I'm going to literally jump out of a window.
Mike Zimmer.
I'm not too impressed with that either. Whatever.
Mike Zimmer.
Whatever. I'm used to disappointment. I don't know. I mean, whatever. He ain't called plays since God knows when, but whatever.
It is what it is, man. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
I'm used to it.
He's used to it, guys. He's used to it, guys.
I've turned the leaf, though. I'm not getting hyped up. I'm not getting impressed. I'm not nothing. Watch next year when we have these conversations.
Okay.
I'm gonna be the biggest doubter there is. Because I'm just that's what it is. Another recycled coach that, was he's okay. He's been sitting on the sideline for about 3 years now. So
no doubt. Well, joining us here in the next couple of seconds is going to be our first guest. Like we said, we're going to be rolling guests through, talking all things Super Bowl, Chiefs versus 49ers, but he's going to be joining us right now. All right. Joining us now, our first guest on the Super Bowl preview, a new one, and we are pumped to have him. It is Ted from Ted Talks Ball, the technical recruiter over there. Man, we appreciate you joining us. How are you doing?
Good. Can't complain, Rowdy. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here. So thanks again.
Like your setup in the back, man. Looks nice.
Yeah, I wonder if he's a 49ers fan, guys. I don't know.
Yeah, can you tell? I don't know. But I do try not to be too much of a homer. I like to think that I'm pretty objective. I'm happy to call out our weaknesses. I'm not one of those like everything is sunshine and rainbows. I'm wearing a Purdy jersey. I'm wearing a Purdy visor. But during the offseason, I was labeled as one of the big Purdy haters. And not because I hate him. I was not one of those people where like, hey, if you like Lance, you have to hate Purdy, or vice versa. I feel like you could like both. But what I hated was the hyperbole, because people were saying, oh, Joe Montana, people were saying Steve Young, people were saying Tom Brady, even Patrick Mahomes was going around some. And I was like, come on, guys, he's none of those guys. I won't say he never will be, but he certainly isn't. It wasn't then. He's improved a lot this season, and he still kind of isn't really, in my opinion. I won't even call him elite yet, but the more and more things go, the closer I get to saying it. A few more comeback wins. He's obviously done real well with throwing deep passes, which I never thought I'd see him do, and even the deep or long runs, I should say. But anyway, sorry, that's a long intro.
Hey, I love this guy already, man.
Yeah, the guy down there, Coop, that's exactly how he feels.
Yeah, I mean, I said in the offseason, limited height, limited arm, limited top speed. And you see that sometimes, like when there's a rusher, or, pushing an offensive lineman into Purdy's face, he just doesn't have the arm strength to throw off the back foot and complete. That's where a lot of his interceptions and incompletes come from. Especially, you've probably seen him in the Green Bay and Lions games recently.
No doubt. Well, that kind of goes off what my first question was going to be. Kind of obviously the Brock Purdy slander, like you said, even all season now with him getting these wins and stepping up and making plays when he's had to, especially with his legs. What do you put on kind of that slander more as the season's kind of gone on, and with how he's really performed, especially last week with his legs to be able to get the win? And do you think with going into the Super Bowl, is he ready to go ahead and get that big win?
He definitely is ready. I think the game manager stuff, like Cam Newton, I think is pretty famous with it. Colin Cowherd. There's a few sort of big haters out there. Basically, I think a lot of it started out sort of like how it did with me, where people just didn't think he would ever build and improve like he has this season. And as it keeps going on, you just have to wonder, are they even watching him, or are they just going for clicks or hot takes at this point? Because people know that if you slander Brock Purdy, that the 49ers fan base is going to come angry and engaged. And some of these people don't care about their reputation. They don't care about being right. All they care about is making money. And, if they get lots of clicks, being wrong, plenty of them are fine with doing it.
No doubt. 100%.
He's ready to disappoint Taylor, as he said.
Man, well, we'll see. It's it's that number 13 that's just going around all over social media that people love to get after too. But looking back at the ball game, it's a big one for the 49ers. So close last year, coming up against the Chiefs, who just have been cold all regular season pretty much, and then get to the postseason and decide to catch passes and start running the ball and doing all these things. What are kind of two keys in your eyes for the 49ers, both on the offense and the defensive side of the ball, that's the most important for them to get this win?
Sure. Offense, run the ball. Chiefs defense is suspect against the run. But if Spags is a really good DC, he'll probably find ways to limit our run game more than you might think. So then other people will have to step up. I like Debo against Watson, their other boundary corner across from Snead, because people say, oh, McDuffie against Debo, but McDuffie is a nickel corner, and Debo doesn't line up in the nickel very often. He and Ayuk are X and Y, so they're on the boundaries. So yeah, run the ball, or if not, pass it to Kittle and Debo, I think would be big keys for us. On defense, it's going to sound funny because it's not really something that our defense can control, but I think Marquez Valdes-Scantling might be a big X factor in this game. Just the way his whole career and most of the season, like you said, lots of big drops, including against the Eagles. But then the last two games, against the Bills, against the Ravens, he came up with these huge grabs towards the end of the game that kind of salted both games away. He's fast. Andy Reid will probably find ways to get him open. Will he make the catches? I don't know. But also, Niners run defense has been a little bit suspect lately too. But I think part of that is just Wilkes needs to tighten things up earlier in the game, not wait till halftime to sort of tighten up the gaps in our zones. But yeah, Kelsey's going to get his. Pacheco's going to get his. I think Rashee Rice will probably get his too. They're all really good players, or at least Rashee Rice is starting to look like that recently. Sky Moore might be an X factor, but it's hard to imagine somebody who's been out that long really coming in and lighten things up. But I don't think it'll be Mecole Hardman or Kadarius Toney. I just think they've lost faith in those two guys.
Yeah, and kind of to piggyback off of what you said, the Chiefs' run defense hasn't been great, especially against the Bills in the first half. The Bills in the first half rushed all over the Chiefs' defense, and then they got away from it in the second half, and look what happened. So I think if give the best running back in the league the ball, I've been saying it this whole time, good chances that good things are going to happen. So that's my thoughts.
I think CMC should be the MVP. It's just funny how the Bills got away from the run in the second half, and the Niners got away from the run last time we played the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
A lot of people, including even Tyrann Matthew, said, I'm glad the Niners stopped running. We had no answer for that, and they put the ball in Jimmy G's hands. That's the good news, is we don't have Jimmy G anymore. Brock Purdy is a lot better than Jimmy G. But our defense is not as good as it was in 2019. So at least not the D line. A lot of people think we have this great D line, but Chase Young's a little overrated. Bosa hasn't quite been himself because he held out. He only had 2 practices before the season started. In Pittsburgh for our no, it wasn't our home opener, but our season opener against the Steelers. And he's never quite looked like himself this season, not like he looked in 2021 or certainly not 2022. And then, Hargrave hasn't really lived up to his contract, and Armstead's been injured with the plantar fasciitis. Hopefully he's 100%, but he was limited today. So is Kittle. So is Oren Burks. So is Ambry Thomas. They're all, going to play, but are supposedly going to play. But, bottom line is, I don't know.
Are you feeling confident though?
I picked us to win. I picked us 28-24.
Okay.
I've been kind of all over the place. I've done a bunch of shows with my usual folks over the last 2 weeks. And then I think 6 or 7 or maybe even 8 content creators. One Chiefs person I had on wasn't really, I guess he's a content creator now, Joe Valerio, but he's an ex-player, an ex-O lineman. He actually holds the record for most O lineman touchdowns in the NFL. He caught 3 from Joe Montana and 1 from Steve Bono. So I had him on last year before the draft because I figured surely the Niners are going to draft the tackle and we're going to draft the tight end finally who can block and catch like Kittle. Neither one happened. So hopefully my Super Bowl predictions a little bit more accurate than my draft predictions were. So
no doubt. Well, of course, this is Ted from Ted Talks Ball, technical recruiter. Like he said, man, he's had the loaded guests over there. I've enjoyed this past couple of weeks listening to everything he's got when it comes to 49ers. So everyone watching, go tune in over there to his Twitter and all of his YouTube videos that he's always uploading, man. But good luck to your 49ers this weekend. We appreciate you coming on with us, man. And hopefully they can get that big win for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be easy. Anybody saying a blowout either direction, I think, is a little bit missing the point. I think both teams are really good. And I think it's going to be a hell of a game. I'm just picking us to come out on top because we have the better team. Obviously, you don't say Mahomes over or Purdy over Mahomes, but, I don't trust Mahomes' weapons, and I think we have the best weapons in the league. So
I think everybody agrees with that. Y'all do have the weapons for sure.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Well,
hey, guys, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. And I'll just say peace and go Niners.
Thank you.
Sir, see ya.
Thank you very much.
All right. That was Ted.
That was cool.
From Ted Talks Ball. Man, I like it.
I'm glad to hear their own talk about Purdy. I'm glad to hear it. I love it.
He sounds confident, but not too confident. I think he's still kind of questioning Purdy to see.
He still knows. He still knows. Hey.
I do agree with him. I think it's going to be a great game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any chance. I think it's going to come down to the last drive, last play, field goal to win it type thing. I think it's going to be a very close game.
That's the best to watch. So there we go.
And I do like the over too. I agree with Hardge when he talked about that. I think the over is going to hit.
Yeah.
100%, man. Well, I liked having the little 49ers action, first time guest on the program, on the Sports Roundtable Trio Edition. And we got our next guest coming up very soon as well, man. And it's
how about that 3 touchdowns by offensive linemen, though? I thought it might. I was trying to think while he was talking. I was like, well, Vabral, but he played defense, so that doesn't count,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he had like 6 or 7, but.
No doubt. Well, joining us here in the next couple minutes is going to be a guy who we've had on before, man. Brought to you by the own Horns 24/7. We'll introduce him when he joins here. But I'm pumped for his thoughts on the Super Bowl as well. We know kind of from the Tuesday show, Coop's feelings. Coop was glad to hear that take because not only did he kind of agree with the Brock Purdy hate, but he also had the 49ers winning. So that's
Yeah,
like
the
that's like a
exact
big
same
win
thing
for
that I've been saying.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what I've been saying.
Yeah.
Hey, Brock isn't him, but he's going to get it to his weapons, and they're going to do just enough.
But you
to
don't
win.
always have to be him. You just have to
You don't
get
always
it
have
to,
to be him.
yeah,
You
I
just have to
mean,
get the job
Trent
done.
Dilfer wasn't him, and he has a ring.
And if that happens, you'll see me come on here and sit right here as a man and say Brock Purdy beat Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. Okay, so there you go.
Yeah, me personally, I do think the Chiefs are going to win, but it's that reason right there. It's, do I pick Patrick Mahomes or Brock
Go with the
Purdy?
quarterback. I get it.
So
100%. I'd agree. But also, you get the best running back. And I'm telling you, Christian McCaffrey needs to have 22, 25 carries this game. I'm dead serious. Just hand them the ball.
he wants it too, man, because he's this will be his first one, and
Yep.
his dad has rings. I mean, that's something. He's going to be ready for sure.
For him to, especially if not only they win, but if he can snag that MVP while he's at it too, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's gonna put him down with some of the greats.
Starts to make a legacy. Yeah.
No doubt. Well, joining us here very soon, it's going to be Eric Henry from Horns 24/7.
Can you hear us?
Going on, fellas?
How's it going, Eric?
Doing, man?
Oh, man, I'm doing all right. Just trying to avoid these UT parking tickets. That's about it.
We're about to say that. I was about to bring that up, man.
Joining us now, of course, is the man, Eric Henry, beat writer over at Horns 24/7. And like he said, just fresh off the parking ticket on the 40 acres, man.
They'll get you, man. They'll get you.
Listen, here's the crazy thing about it. And as always, appreciate y'all fellas having me on. Listen, so we get a media parking pass, and it allows you to park on the ramp. For listeners to kind of paint the picture here, it's the south end zone area, DKR, right? We get to kind of park up on that ramp for Sark's pressers, and we've never had an issue before. Parked there all last year, no big deal, right? I mean, you'll have people who drive the TV trucks or your radio trucks, and then those which drive a regular car. And listen, I don't want to flex on anybody, but maybe it's the Mustang that got a ticket. But it must have been someone's first day on the job, didn't see my parking pass there, gave me a ticket. So, and of course, here's the funny thing about it, big boy, right? So I go over to I think it's Trinity Garage is where the parking services is. I go there and it says away at lunch from 12 to 1:30. So I couldn't even go there to get it taken care of. So hopefully next week when I'm back up there at the 40 acres, we can get that all squared away.
Yeah. No, I was telling them I actually I worked security at UT back in the day.
Okay.
And that was what I would do, man. Like when it ended 11, I had to get my tickets. I'd go there. And I got this one kid probably about 4 times in a row. And I know he would have beat me up. If he would have caught me, he would have beat me up for sure.
Man, like you said, we appreciate you joining us. We know it's the biggest weekend of the year when it comes to the NFL, the Super Bowl, the Chiefs, and the 49ers in Vegas, man. We just had a great guest on, and now bringing it right on with you. But kind of looking at it, we know you don't cover either team kind of individually, but just as a football guy yourself, what are kind of, you think, the 2 biggest takeaways or keys for the Chiefs to either win or the 49ers to win?
Well, here's the big thing, right? So as you guys, I'm pretty sure you guys know this about me. I'm from Tampa, Florida. So the last time the Kansas City Chiefs were in the Super Bowl, they played Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And what were the Bucs able to do? Against
the true greatest of all time, by the way. We had a whole ass conversation about that. Yeah, against the true greatest of all time, Tom Brady. Continue. Sorry.
No. Listen, I don't mind you cutting me off there. I will say this. Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback of all time because he's a winner. However, this dude Mahomes is special. Like he is. So maybe we'll revisit this in a year or two. If we're talking about pure talent, I mean, this dude is special. Anyhow, I mean, if you can get pressure on him, I think that's going to be the big thing. Can San Fran do that, right? I mean, listen, here's the other conversation, and listen, it's been part of, the football conversation for the entire seemingly football season. Brock Purdy, right? And whether you consider him a game manager, I don't look at him as a guy who's just along for the ride. I think Brock Purdy gets a bad rap because, you know, you have guys like Mahomes, guys like Josh Allen, et cetera, you know, Justin Herbert, you know, go down the list, right? You know, these forces, these cyborgs who can make every throw and you know, just wow you, right? So maybe Brock Purdy doesn't make 12 to 15 just wow throws per game. But as you guys have seen throughout this playoffs, he can make 3 or 4, and he can make the crucial play with his legs when it's time to make the play with his legs. That's what a winner does, right? So I think my first matchup I'm looking at is that quarterback matchup. So, you know, going Mahomes versus Brock Purdy. As I mentioned, can San Francisco pressure Kansas City? That's going to be the second thing. The third thing, just who comes out quickest, man? You know, I'm a big believer in the Super Bowl is the team that settles in the quickest. Yeah, outside of, you know, the 28-3 Patriots Falcons, outside of that, you can settle in quickly and just start playing good football. That can kind of guide you, you know, and those are kind of things I'm looking at right now. So we'll see, but it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Again, the 28-3, who came back? Tom Brady. Continue.
Well, with that being said, about the Chiefs, looking at the defenses, who do you think has the edge on that? Because the Chiefs defense has been lights out this year. I know San Francisco gets a lot of credit because they're linebackers, but what do you think about the defenses and who can stop the other one?
Yeah, well, it's interesting you mentioned that, right? Because I don't think Kansas City has gotten enough credit for its defense, right? I mean, this isn't the Kansas City of, you know, 2-3 years ago. Let's even say kind of mark it back to the Tyreek Hill era, right? In which they kind of just playing pitch and catch with him and Kelsey and was going all over the place, and the defense just along for the ride, right? Remember that overtime game, the one where actually ended up changing the rule, right? Kansas City and Buffalo, to where, you know, the first team that got the score ended up winning. It was like, all right, we got to change the rule, and so both teams can get the ball. But that was a Kansas City defense. So like, all right, they're just along for the ride, and Mahomes will make all the plays. This is different. So that Kansas City defense, I think, is one you really got to take a look at. And it's funny to think about, Big Boy. Remember Chris Jones held out to start this year? That was a guy like, it's funny to remember, to think about. He almost wasn't part of this team, right? So a big part of Kansas City's defense there. With San Fran, I mean, you take a look, of course, and you got the guys on the edges, and, you know, and again, those edge rushers. And it's just, in my mind, I think this matchup, again, San Francisco's defense, you can almost take a look at them and say they're not necessarily the defense that they've been over the past few years. Still a very good defense, but not necessarily the dominating defense. And another thing with San Fran, and I'm going to flip it to the offensive side of the ball here, is, you know, at times, they look, I don't want to say lost, but there's kind of a manufacturing of the offense they use with Deebo Samuel, right? Mm-hmm. And when you've got all those weapons, him, Christian McCaffrey, et cetera, Brandon Ayuk, you got to spread the ball around a bit. But there's times where Deebo kind of gets lost in the shuffle. And I'm kind of curious to see how that plays in terms of how Kansas City will kind of defend that, because he's someone, of course, you're going to move all over the offensive alignment. So definitely an interesting defensive matchup as well.
Yeah. You know, you brought up Brock Purdy, game manager, whatever. I've said my piece on it. You know, for those listening, they know what I think about it. But what do you take of Brock Purdy and the slander that he's been getting? You know, because he's still playing in the Super Bowl. You can say whatever you want. He's playing in the Super Bowl. So what are your thoughts on the slander of Brock Purdy?
Again, you know, I mean, it's part of it. And I don't necessarily want to say it's a media narrative, but like I said, I think we kind of have this idea, this image of quarterbacks. Again, let's use Josh Allen as the prototype, right? Because no one ever considers Josh Allen to be a game manager. Quite frankly, Josh Allen probably needs a little more game manager, quote unquote.
Not throw so many interceptions. Yeah.
Because he's that guy who, because he can make all the throws and he's just this super freaky athlete, right? He's like, all right, I'm going to sling it all around. But there's nothing wrong with a guy who plays within himself. Let's use, again, Tom Brady as an example, right? I Big Boy can probably vouch for me here with this, Coop. Trent Dilfer was a game manager.
I said it earlier.
That was a guy who was like, okay, just don't lose the game for us.
Yeah.
Tom Brady is someone who kind of gets a bad rap at times, at least early in his career, for those Patriot runs in which they felt like, all right, he just had to make a few throws and get in the field goal range. No, but there's a difference between a guy who can make those, as I said, maybe not 12 to 15 throws per game, but 3 to 5, and make a play with his legs, versus someone who literally we're saying, hey, do not mess this up for us, right? Yeah. So that is where I think in terms of the Brock Purdy conversation, it's the narrative around game manager that I think needs to change. And again, I don't necessarily fault a guy like Cam Newton for looking at Brock Purdy and saying it's a game manager, because Cam Newton, if you've ever stood next to Cam Newton, 6'6", 250, runs a 4.4 and can throw it 80 yards downfield, right?
Yeah.
So Cam is going to look at anyone. There's an upper echelon of talent, right? Like I'm sure LeBron James looks at insert NBA player and says, all right, well, that guy's not me. Well, yeah, but who is, right?
Nobody is,
so
yeah.
that's in my mind why I think Brock Purdy kind of gets somewhat of a bad rap. But again, it is not something that, with Brock, as if he's deficient in any way. And as a matter of fact, I would put him amongst my top, not only 15, but top 10 quarterbacks, because he makes the plays when you need to make the plays and he protects the football. It's a winner.
And that's the point of a quarterback, and getting it to your weapons. I mean, that's the quarterback position. So I agree with that.
And I do want to take a shot real quick, Kate. Hold on. I want to take a shot at Cam Newton real quick for saying that, because Brock Purdy would jump on a fumble in the Super Bowl. Just saying.
Yeah, we'll see.
He would jump on the fumble. Just saying.
We'll see. Well, of course, we are joined by the man, Eric Henry, Horns 24/7 B-Writer. How do you like that, man? Hey,
I do like that.
First upgrade right there.
Got the 24/7 sports.
Yeah.
I like that.
First time breaking it out, man. Figured it was the best.
The Bostons will appreciate that as well.
24/7 sports. Of course. But last one before you get out of here. Obviously, who do you got winning? Score prediction for us? What do you got?
Yeah, I'll give you a score prediction. Again, I don't cover any of these teams, so I can have a little fun with this here. So no, I'm going with Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes. There's a certain point in time. I mean, I know I certainly fell into this category with Tom Brady. Tom Brady had won 2-3 championships before the time I'd even reached high school. I was in middle school by the time he had won multiple championships, and it just felt like, all right, enough of this. But then when you get to 4 and 5 and 6, you have to respect greatness, right?
Yep.
Lamar Jackson, I thought this was the year for Baltimore. I thought he was going to find a way to end up in this game. And come when all the smoke is cleared, all the dust is settled, we're looking at Patrick Mahomes guiding this team back to the championship. And I just think there's something about greatness that you have to respect. So I'm going Kansas City, and I'm going to go something like 24-20 Kansas City.
I like
That's
it.
the under too. I like that.
There you go.
Well, that is the man, Eric Henry, man. We appreciate you coming on and joining us, and make sure y'all go tune over to Horns 24/7. There's football season maybe be over. Basketball season's still going crazy. So go tune in over there, everything they got going on, man. We appreciate you joining us.
Anytime, fellas.
Thanks a lot, Eric.
Thank you.
All right. That was the man, our man, Eric Henry.
So we got one Chiefs, one 49ers, one over, one under.
Dude, we're just going to keep pounding these guests to you. Just keep them coming, baby.
I love it. I love it. The next one's going to be joining us very soon as well, man. But Big Boy's always got this smile on his face now. It's like he's just so happy the Super Bowl's coming. He's just, he's got the salt and pepper growing. He's going it out for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, there's a lot of salt in there, man. I was looking earlier. I was like, damn, you got a lot of gray hairs in your beard. Just experience, boys.
Right.
Just, hey, we'll all turn 31.
Every Cowboys loss is a gray hair, huh?
Yeah, there's a lot of them in there.
Oh, man.
But they do have 5 Super Bowls, so.
It clears it out a little bit.
Yeah.
But each hair is for how many years it's been since they did win one. So.
Yeah, y'all are funny. I got jokes tonight about my Cowboys. Mike Zimmer, huh? I still can't believe this.
Off the head there.
I still can't.
That was off the head. That was off the dome. Off the dome.
Yeah, Mike Zimmer.
Hey,
we'll see. We'll see.
That's fun.
Jerry was going to make a big splash, and I guess that's it. So come on back.
Oh.
All righty. About to join us right now is going to be our next guest, and we'll introduce him right when he joins because it's a good one. First time guest. I'm pumped for it. He's going to be joining us right now.
All right.
All right. Joining us now is the man, Brien Hanley, host of the Big B Sports Talk over on Twitter and YouTube. and then also the co-host of the KC Sports Network. And as you can see, works over at the Horn or at 24/7 Sports. We just had on a Horns 24/7 guy as well. So I got it mixed up there for a second. But how are we doing, man?
I'm good. How are you guys doing? I appreciate you having me on.
Doing great, man. We're doing great.
All right.
Glad you're able to join us. We know it's the biggest weekend of the year when it comes to the NFL. Obviously, the Super Bowl in Vegas, Chiefs versus 49ers. It's going to be a good one, but man, we're glad for you to join us and kind of talk a little bit about it. And of course, get your opinions. We love having guys on and just getting their side of things, but we'll get started off with kind of what are going into the game. What do you think are the two biggest keys for either the Chiefs to pull out a victory or on the other side of the ball, the 49ers to pull it off?
Well, I kind of think it's both the same thing for both teams. I know it's a cliche to say running the football is the key to the game, but it really is in this case, because if you look at the two previous games against the 49ers, both the Packers and the Lions were both able to run the football on them with plenty of success. I think the Lions actually win the game if they don't, or if they continue to run the football. They just stopped running it. In first half, they ran it up and down the field. The second half, they only gave themselves 7 opportunities, and that was with a lead. So I think if the Lions may have stuck to that game plan, they might have been able to pull that game out. The Chiefs, on the other hand, it's kind of the same thing. Teams have been able to run the football against them. It's just that they haven't. The Bills had an opportunity, and they did. They ran it with plenty of success. The Ravens ran it with success. They just didn't run it enough. It's like the game plan was just weird in that game. But so I think running the football is going to be the key with both sides. Obviously, you would think that with having Christian McCaffrey, that gives the 49ers the edge, and it might. And the Chiefs being out with being without Joe Tooney, that's a problem, for them to be able to run the football. So if you're looking at it from that aspect of it, I would say advantage 49ers.
For sure.
Yeah. And hold on, Kate. You bring up, running the football, and the 49ers, obviously Christian McCaffrey's doing good, and the Chiefs' rush defense hasn't been good. You mentioned the Bills rushing all over them, especially in the first half, and then just getting completely away from it. Who knows what would have happened if they would have kept going with the run. But I've been saying it this whole time. Christian McCaffrey's my dude, man, and run the rock, baby. 22, 25 carries. There you go. You'll get it.
Yeah, I think Christian McCaffrey can be a big key to this game, throwing and passing. Here's my thing. If McCaffrey gets to 150 to 175 total yards, they win the football game. That just plain and simple. If he gets to that running and receiving, if he gets to that 150 to 175, the 49ers are going to win.
No doubt.
Speaking of that, Charles Omenihu being out now, how much do you think that's gonna hurt them? I know he's been, he was out some this season already for some other things, and do you think that's really going to be a big hindrance for the Chiefs?
Absolutely. Look, King Felix is a rookie, hadn't gotten very many snaps all season long. Omenihu came in and did damage, and he did damage against the Ravens.
Yeah,
with the strip sack. So it's gonna hurt. Now they have some other guys that can fill in, but we're gonna see. We are going to see. The one thing about it is that you look at the 49ers up and down, their offensive line doesn't have a bunch of stars. They have one that is literally the best tackle in football. Yeah. But then when you look at everybody else, it's not a big collection of stars out there. Now, they do work well together, but I think Chris Jones, you move him up and down the line. I just think there might be some advantages. Look for the Chiefs Spagnuolo is going to bring pressure. That's his thing. But look for a lot of A-gap pressure and games up front to kind of try to confuse what the 49ers are trying to do.
Yeah, that pressure up the middle on Brock can be a big difference in this game for sure.
Yeah.
We've been asking all these guests, obviously the quarterback matchup, obviously you're going to go with Patrick Mahomes, but what would you say about the Brock Purdy slander? You can say whatever you want about him, but his team's in the Super Bowl competing to be world champions, So What would you say about people slandering Brock Purdy, saying he's a game manager and all of that type of stuff? What would you say?
Well, I was one of the people that slandered him and just said, hey, he hadn't been able to come through in the clutch. He hasn't played well when they're behind. He hasn't played well when there's real game pressure. Now, the one thing is you could never blame him for his team getting the lead and then him playing well. That's not his fault. If his team gets in the lead and he's able to play well, okay. But in the games where they were behind, he played awful until the playoffs. Until he played against the Packers. And again, against the Packers, he played awful the whole game. But then in the last drive when they needed him to come through, he did. Against the Lions, same thing. He played awful in the first half. The second half, he flipped the switch and he was able to come through. So all the things that people are talking about him and saying, they were all true. But then he proved everybody wrong and said, you know what? In the 2 biggest games of his life, he was able to come through in the clutch and make plays. So whether he's a game manager or not, I don't really get into that because there's there's nothing wrong. They say game manager like that's a bad thing. The quarterbacks in general are game managers. That's what they do. There's other times where they have to make plays to win the game. But the one thing about a quarterback is that their first job is to not lose it. That's every quarterback's first job. Don't go out there and make mistakes to lose the game. That's point blank number 1. And number 2, okay, if you're not going to lose the game, can you go win it? And he's been able to do that. So, I think the slander was warranted, but then he proved everybody wrong. So now it's okay, well, put up or shut up. And he did. So what else can you say about him?
Yeah,
exactly. That's what I've been saying this whole time as well, since this playoff run really started, especially last week with him making those plays with his legs too, man. I mean, it was very impressive for him to get out of the pocket like that. And even when he did have to move around the pocket, making those throws to Kyle down on the sideline or across the middle, very impressive. But kind of looking over at the other side of the ball to Kansas City, this has been a very hot topic on our show. Very hot topic. And I'm interested to see your opinion. If the Chiefs are able to win this Super Bowl, where do you kind of view them as the all-time dynasty ranks? Do you put them right there next to the Patriots yet, or just a little bit behind them still?
Well, I mean, you can first of all, are we sure that the Patriots have the best dynasty? That would be number 1. I would say no. But
we say you're the Steelers. I can imagine.
I mean, I'm a Steelers guy. They won 4 titles in 6 years, and nobody's done that. So that's a different conversation for a different day, I guess. But would you put them up there? First of all, it would be a dynasty. I don't think it is yet. I think you got to win 3 titles to be considered a dynasty. So if the Chiefs do win that, I don't know that you put them up there with the Patriots. Look, the Patriots won 6. And until you hit that, you're not touching them. You're not touching the Steelers or the 49ers. You're just not. Now, it doesn't mean that you're not a dynasty. It just means you can't be on the same level as those teams. Now, you win more, okay, then you can start having that conversation. But until you do, I think we're so prisoner of the moment type of mentality these days that everybody is so quick to want to make somebody be the best. Look, give it a minute. Just let it all play out. Yes, they can be considered a dynasty, but are they considered a dynasty like the Cowboys of the 90s? Well, do we even think the Chiefs are as good as those teams? That would be number 1. I would say no, they're not. Even though Mahomes is a better quarterback than Aikman, look at the rest of the team. They're not better than what those Cowboys teams were. Same thing with the Patriots, same thing with the 49ers, same thing with the Steelers. So we just got to wait to try to anoint people to be in a dynasty. It'll all play out. I don't think we need to be in a rush for that.
Oh, I love that answer, baby. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
I don't think you should rush it. It's just things will happen,
It's going to play itself out. That's exactly what I said.
Well, the whole thing, when people try to say that, Patrick Mahomes, he's the greatest quarterback ever, or he's in the top 2 or 3. I'm like, well, hold on a second. If he stopped playing today, like he never played another snap of football ever again, are we sure he's better than Peyton Manning? Nope. Are we sure that he's better than those guys? I go, Look, give it a minute. I'm not saying that he can't get there. I'm not saying he's not more talented. I go, but you can't be considered the greatest after 6 seasons. You just can't, regardless of what you do. You can't be considered the greatest. So we just got to let some of these things play out.
No doubt.
Man,
Well,
I wish he was on our Tuesday show to have my back. It was me versus these two Hanyucks over here.
whatever. But
Oh,
That's
before
not what I said.
before we get to this last question, a little bit of breaking news while we are live is we kind of all expected it, but CJ Stroud officially has won the Rookie of the Year. That just was just released, but props, good to him, great year. But obviously the biggest question yet, and we're of course joined by Brien Hanley. Who do you got winning when it comes down to the end, and little score prediction for us?
Well, you know, my wife is a diehard Chiefs fan. I mean, I played at Kansas State. I lived in Kansas City for 11 years, and she grew up there. So I have picked against the Chiefs the last 2 weeks. I thought they were going to lose at Buffalo, and they won. I was for sure they were going to lose to Baltimore, and they won. She has said, you can't pick the Chiefs. You cannot pick the Chiefs. Keep picking against the Chiefs so we win. So I'm rooting for the Chiefs to win, but I don't think they actually will. I really don't. I want them to win, but I think it's going to be 49ers 27-24.
Like it.
Nice.
Got that over too. Well, man, we appreciate you coming on for the first time with us and joining us, man. It was great having you on. New guest.
Absolutely.
We love having a new guest on every week, and we'll have to get you on again whenever K-State and if some UT runs down the road again soon. Obviously, you can see we got some big UT guys here. So
absolutely not a problem. I appreciate it. This was fun. I'll be glad to come on anytime, guys.
Thank
Awesome.
you so much,
It's been a great job. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir. All right. That was the man, Brien Hanley. Come on.
Great interview.
He was good, man.
Great, man. Great first time guest. Hopefully we'll have him on in the future to talk whatever ball there is. But joining us right now is a familiar face. Guy we've had on before, of course, to talk Texas. And he's going to be joining us here in the next couple. There he is. There's the man.
Fellas, how we doing?
How you doing?
Doing good, guys. How are you?
Great.
Good. Joining us now, of course. If you've watched us in the past, we had him on once. Second time coming is Tommy Yarrish from Horns 24/7, the video producer. Man, glad you could join us for this Super Bowl preview episode, man.
I appreciate you guys having me back. It was a blast the first time. I'm glad to be back again.
Awesome.
No doubt. Well, obviously, we know the biggest weekend when it comes to the NFL this weekend in Las Vegas, Kansas City Chiefs against the 49ers. You know, as a football guy yourself, we are very appreciative of you for you coming on, we like getting the different opinions. We like seeing who everyone else is picking. We've had on a couple of guests before you, and so far everyone's gone different route.
Yeah.
We will say your Horns 24/7 partner, Eric Henry. Who did he end up picking? Was it the
Chiefs?
The Chiefs.
Yeah,
He ended up going with the Chiefs. So we'll get your pick here in a little bit.
Chiefs in the under.
Yeah. We'll see how that goes. But kind of getting it started off, man. What are in your eyes kind of a couple of keys for the Chiefs if they're going to be able to pull off this victory? And then the same thing as it goes for the 49ers.
Yeah, sure. So for the Chiefs, I think it's going to be can their wide receiver core continue to play like they have the last couple of games and not revert into the earlier version of themselves this season where they're dropping passes left and right. You know, Patrick Mahomes, you have the best quarterback in the NFL right now. So whenever he's playing, it's going to be hard to bet against him. But if his receivers are dropping passes like they have been in the past, then that's obviously not good. But they've improved in the playoffs. I think Rashee Rice has really blossomed towards the end of the season, which is nice to see. So if they're playing well, then the Chiefs have an increased chance to win. And then can their defense continue to play at a high level? San Francisco's offense has so many weapons and they can attack you in so many different ways in Kyle Shanahan's scheme that can the right guys be at the right place at the right time? And then I think the third and final thing is going to be how utilized is Travis Kelce? Like, you know, the 49ers, obviously, you're going to know you have to stop him because he's Patrick Mahomes' biggest target and best target on the field. So how do you take him into the game knowing that they're going to do everything they can to take him out of it and make sure that he gets open and has some success for you? For the 49ers, I think their success revolves all around Brock Purdy. What kind of version of Brock Purdy do we get in this game? You know, he's so blessed with the offensive weapons that he has around him that quite frankly, guys, he doesn't really have to do much. He can, you don't have to make it super hard on him. He doesn't have to throw, 25-yard out routes from one side of the field to the other he doesn't have to wow you in this game. Really, he just has to, and I know this term has been used with him and it's been under fire, but game manager. If he just manages the game, they can very easily compete. I'm not saying Brock Purdy can't ball out every once in a while, but the scheme is there and it's all set up in his favor. So that's definitely the biggest key. And then the second is the Niners defense as a whole. Can they get pressure on Patrick Mahomes and get him down onto the ground instead of letting him scramble and make a play on the run, which is where arguably he's at his best when it's unscripted and he's just in the open field. And then Christian McCaffrey, how well utilized is he? If he's having a big day and he's running all over the Chiefs, then odds are the Niners have a pretty good shot. But if he's limited and he's bottled up, then it might get a little bit difficult from there. So those are my kind of three for each side, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And you kind of hit on it a little bit, and I've been asking every one of our interviewers the same question. What would you say about the Brock Purdy slander, saying, like you said, the game manager type of thing? But you can say what you want. He's in the Super Bowl now, so what would you say about that? And what do you think he brings to this game?
Yeah, Coop, you stole the words right out of my mouth. You can call him whatever you want to call him. He's in the Super Bowl, and you can't take that away from him, right? I think he's done a good job of beating some of the game manager allegations. He made a couple nice throws in the NFC Championship game against a really stout Detroit Lions defense, I think. Sorry to our guy Chip Brown, biggest Lions fan I know. Rest in peace. But yeah, I mean, I can understand why people would say game manager just because they have the weapons to where it looks like that. And they have the scheme to where it looks like that with Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk. I mean, guys, I think I could go play quarterback for the 49ers and look pretty good with those kind of guys around me. I don't have to do too much, but I think Purdy's definitely underrated still just because he's a smaller guy. He was the last pick in the draft. Nobody thinks much of him to begin with. So to see him get to this point in most people's minds, if they're, maybe casual fans, you got to think it's a fluke or it's the guys around him. But you have to commend him for doing a good enough job to do this for most of the season. Granted, he has had his struggles and he's looked bad at times, but he's still in the Super Bowl and he's got the Niners looking pretty good and they have a real legitimate shot to win this game.
Yeah, no doubt. We're joined again by Tommy Yarrish from 20 Horns 24/7. Kate has the nice screen up back there.
I was going to say, that looks real good. I feel
we're trying to get professional, man.
It looks good, man. Looks
good.
First time.
It's kind of speaking of all the weapons that the 49ers have. It's going to be a big matchup, the 49ers weapons against that Chiefs defense that I'm so impressed with this year, what they've done. What do you think the biggest key is for the Kansas City defense of trying to stop Deebo and Christian McCaffrey and all those weapons?
Well, the biggest thing is you just got to fly to the ball. You got to rally to the ball, right? Because the 49ers are not going to give – I would think they're going to game plan to just get the ball out of Brock Purdy's hands quickly and get it to their guys in space. Let Deebo Samuel work. Let Christian McCaffrey work. Let George Kittle work because that's where they're at their best, right? That's where we've seen the 49ers do all season and as long as they've had those offensive weapons. So the Chiefs got to do a good job of just flying to the ball, getting there at one time and not, getting stopped by guys like Trent Williams on the offensive line if it's a quick screen pass. The 49ers offensive line has been fantastic all year long, and you've got Trent Williams, who's probably the scariest human being on the planet out there blocking for you. So being able to have guys like L'Jarius Sneed be able to get off a blocker quick on a screen pass like that and be able to make an open field play. Trent McDuffie's been playing really well. Those corners, I think, are the most important part because they're the ones who are going to have to tackle those guys in open space. And then the obvious answer too would be getting pressure on Brock Purdy. Not the most mobile guy. He can move a little bit and get outside the pocket and work there. But if Chris Jones has a really good game in the middle of that defensive line and he comes crashing down on him, then things get a little bit different. And George Karlaftis has had a couple of nice games for the Chiefs off the edge. So if they're able to get those two guys going on the defensive line too and make Brock Purdy uncomfortable, then I think that can definitely change things on the back end because if he's uncomfortable, he's got a high percentage turnover rate when he's under pressure. And we've seen it in the past in the regular season where he's just kind of thrown some odd passes and it ends up right into the waiting hands of a defender, and it goes the other way. So that's where he's had his struggles. If the Chiefs can do that, then their defense is going to look really solid in this game.
No doubt. Well, you kind of just talked about the defense. And before we get to our last question, I kind of wanted to bring this up. Obviously, Charles Minhu, Texas guy, had this just brutal injury last game after what was a great season, even though he got started going late. How big of an impact do you think that's going to be on that Chiefs D line with him being a real pass rusher that he had been?
It's huge. I mean, you mentioned it. He had been such a good pass rusher for the Chiefs this season, and he was great in the AFC Championship game. Obviously, super unfortunate to see him go down with an injury, but that's why I mentioned George Karlaftis, right? He's going to have a big game off the edge to kind of make up for not having Omenihu there and really be able to kind of fill his shoes in a sense in this bid against a very good 49ers offensive line. And it also makes it doubly important for Chris Jones there in the middle at the defensive tackle position. And he's been fantastic all year, just putting ridiculous numbers up. He shouldn't have as many sacks as he has as a defensive tackle this season, but nonetheless, he does. He's just that unguardable. And so that's why those two guys are really going to have a big game for this defense because of the loss of a guy like Omenihu.
No doubt. Well, the final and the biggest question yet, we're all looking forward to it because we're all split on it as well. Who do you got coming through, breaking through in the fourth quarter? Who do you got prevailing to get that win? And then a little score prediction in there as well.
Guys, I model a lot of my game after our good friend Eric Henry, and I'm going to do the same thing here. I've got the Chiefs winning this one. Patrick Mahomes is kind of turning into the Tom Brady for me in the sense of like, you don't bet against him when it counts, and it's going to count in this one. I just think the Chiefs have improved so much, especially defensively. And Patrick Mahomes has arguably his best defense that he's ever had in Kansas City. They've been playing fantastic. And if he's running the point on offense, then you've got a pretty good shot, even if you have, wide receivers dropping passes left and right. He's kept them in games. And I think I could play wide receiver for the Chiefs, guys. I know I was just the quarterback for the 49ers a couple minutes ago, but I could play wide receiver for the Chiefs and we'd have a pretty good shot if Patrick Mahomes was our quarterback. So I'm going Chiefs in this game and I'm taking them close. I think the 49ers hang around, but I think ultimately Kansas City pulls through and wins at 31-27.
I love it. I love it. Well, everyone watching, make sure you go tune in to Horns 24/7, just like we said earlier with Eric on. They got a lot of stuff going still, even though it's football season. It's not in action. Basketball's going. Baseball's about to get going. So go tune in over there. Don't miss out on what they got going on. But Tommy, man, we appreciate you joining us.
All right. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Y'all have a good Sunday.
Thanks a lot, man. Thank you.
All right. Y'all take it easy. I'll see you.
Yes, sir. You too.
Well, that was the man.
But he has the over, right?
He does. Yep.
Yeah.
We got a little interesting play here.
I already got my play locked in right here.
Oh man.
I'm not. I'm staying away from it.
Yeah, you always do.
No, I don't. That's not true. That's not true.
Put a $2.12 parlay for 16
that's my brother.
Yeah,
no,
he does. Your brother is mad about that.
I went on you. With
I know.
Yeah.
I'm just joking.
You know what?
Yeah.
Your brother does
listen.
that.
I've been having to save a little money, but just for y'all, I'll go in this weekend. I told y'all a couple weeks ago, right when those games were over, that I had my four player parlay ready. I'll lay some real money down, and I'll also lay some real money down on who I got winning. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit after our next and final guest joins us here in the next couple of minutes. But while we are on the air, we got another. I guess
who won the coach?
They haven't announced that one yet. The one that just came out was Defensive Rookie of the Year, which we can all assume Will Anderson.
Did he win it too?
Yeah. The man won it. Yep. So for the second straight year, both Rookie of the Year awards go to players on the same team.
And they might get the coach too.
Isn't that crazy?
They should get the coach. They should.
Like you get both rookies. Both rookies. I mean, you're doing something right in the draft. Like I know, like they did have 2 top 3 picks, but still.
Well, no, they traded up to him. They had to trade to Will, but yeah.
They had 2 top 3 picks to draft him, Cooper. That was the point.
I know, but they still they had to trade up to him. They didn't have to trade up to him. They would have gotten him if they didn't trade for it. But Yeah.
What does it matter? They got him. What's the argument?
Well, I'm just saying.
I mean, why even bring it up?
They weren't given the 2 picks like that. They had 1. And they
that was not
traded up.
that was not my point. My point
Okay.
was
I'm just
that
clarifying it.
even like they both, it's impressive that they both won, but they still had the second and third pick. Like
Right.
you would
We
expect.
need to get some boxing gloves and let y'all just go at it here this
They
summer
should.
to resolve some of
He's old. He's
these little
retired.
issues y'all got.
His back's broken.
Oh God.
His fist ain't.
His
Here
back
we go.
is.
Here we go. No, but I will be. I would assume the coach of the year would come out tonight too. I mean,
I think it does. I think it's all tonight.
Oh, hopefully they don't mess that one up. I mean, it's either got obviously Texans guy, but if it's not
The Browns, Dan Quinn. I mean, not Dan Quinn, Dan Campbell. Jesus Christ. Dan Campbell.
I mean, I would hope if it's not DeMarco, I hope it would be Dan Campbell. I hope it's not like the Browns. Yes, props, but you did go and get your booty whipped.
Hey, I will tell you, out of all those teams, and we didn't know what was going to happen with Deshaun Watson at the beginning of the year. You know, we didn't know he was going to get hurt. But for what they did, I would have said the Texans, D'Amico Ryans.
Well, and Chubb got hurt too, which was huge.
Yeah.
So.
No doubt. Yeah. I mean, we'll see. Hopefully that comes out while we're still recording on this beautiful Thursday night. Of course, episode coming out Friday morning. It's been a good one, man. We got one final guest here joining us and should be a minute or so. And then, of course, after our next guest comes on, we will give you our picks, our final thoughts of the Super Bowl preview. Of course, the score, we got to give him the score. Big boy, he'll give you his over-under. That's part of it. And
then we got Hardge after that. We
got figuring out the 40 to close it out. To close out this fantastic Friday episode of the Sports Roundtable Trio Edition. But joining us,
hey, and get some squares. We still got some squares left, guys.
We got a little bit left.
Just a couple squares.
You can win you some good money on squares, man.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, you could win up to $1,000. I mean, win all 4 quarters, get lucky.
Yeah,
you can win $1,000. I mean, now with if you're a Cooper and you did it, probably not. You probably not even be close to it. That's just Coop's luck, but. That's just part of it.
Last year, I won my first squares ever. I had played all the time. I won for the first time ever last year. And it was one I got to play for free, and I won at work. It was pretty cool.
All right. Well, joining us right now should be loading in the man we've had on before. One of our favorites. He's got the B-man.
He looks confused. I don't know if we're on or not.
What's up, gentlemen?
What's up, man? There we go.
Hey, I just had to figure out the audio real fast there, man. How y'all doing?
Good, man. How you?
Just got the daughter to sleep, man. Ready to talk some sports,
Nice. Nice.
As you can all see, we got the man, Michael Smeltzer from Wolverine Chronicle joining us. He's joined us once before, but now joining us for our episode of the Super Bowl preview. It's a massive weekend, man. We're going to get into it. Our last guest, we're looking forward to who you're going to be picking and as well as the score. We've had some really, it's been all over the place.
All over the place, yeah.
49ers picks, some Chiefs picks, some overs, some unders. So we'll get that from you at the very end. But
absolutely.
Looking right at it to start it off. What are you, in your eyes, football guy yourself? We know you don't really cover either team, but just as a football guy yourself like us, what would you say are the 2 biggest keys if the Chiefs are going to win, or on the other side, if the 49ers are going to win?
Man, that's a good question. So I've been submerged in college ball this year as a Michigan guy. You guys know that. So I haven't gotten to really dissect what's going on, but for the Kansas City Chiefs, I actually think that the defensive line is probably the key to the game. And you couldn't really say that about Chiefs teams in the past. That wasn't necessarily the game-changing position group, but there is a reason why I'm focusing on them so much. Joe Cullen, who is the defensive line coach of the Chiefs, is actually one of the 2 candidates that new head football coach at Michigan is considering. Sharon Moore is considering for the defensive coordinator position over there. So I want to get Eyes
There you
on
go.
him. I do think that that's a key to the game, but I mean, let's be real here. Patrick Mahomes, right? Patty Mahomes is the guy, and so he's going to be the difference maker. If he's got the ball in his hands, with more than a minute and 15 seconds on the clock, and they need one score to win it, it's hard to bet against that guy.
Yeah.
So Patty Mahomes is the dude. I'm going to probably say a healthy Deebo Samuel is going to be the X factor for San Francisco. We know Christian McCaffrey is going to get his. You know what? I take that back. Now that I'm working through this with you guys, it's got to be Brock Purdy, right? Because Brock Purdy can make it or break it. Like as far as he could really screw this game up for the Niners, or he could push them over the top. So those are my picks, man. I'm going to go D-line, Mahomes, Brock Purdy on the other side.
There you go.
Like it.
Yeah.
And you don't have to follow it at all, but you can just be around the internet to hear the Brock Purdy slander and see all the game management stuff and all that. So what are your thoughts on that and what he needs to do, obviously, to, beat a hot Chiefs team?
Man, we got a bunch of dudes with Twitter fingers out there that can't run a 40 in like 8 seconds out here talking shit about Brock Purdy. Come on, man. Like the dude's a stud, It's like I look at these guys in the NFL and I respect what it takes to do what they do. I mean, is he Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes? Like, no, of course not. We know that's not what he is, but he's more than a game manager. I mean, he has made some pretty significant plays, and so I don't know if that answered the question. What was the question again?
What he needs to do to just does he need to game manage or does he need to play better than just game manage?
Yeah, Coop. I mean, don't turn the ball over. That's what it is right there, right? If you're Brock Purdy and you don't turn the ball over, then I feel like that's a pretty good sign because McCaffrey, Deebo, Ayuk, like those dudes are going to make some plays.
The weapons for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we're joined by Michael Smeltzer from the Wolverine Chronicle. Man, to me, I kind of compare JJ to Brock. To me, it's one of those things where he's not always asked to do too much. Just do what you do right and get it out to your weapons and then run the ball good. And that's what I kind of see. And so if they want to consider that game manager, I think that's one of the big things. And we saw what JJ did this year. He went home with the championship. But switching to defense, my biggest thing is the Chiefs defense, going against the 49ers. I think Patrick Mahomes, I think he's going to get what he gets, and he's Patrick Mahomes. But I think the Chiefs are going to have to show that they can stop that 49ers offense for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more, man. And by the way, I like the JJ metaphor there, man.
I threw it in for you. I knew you'd like it,
Well, and here's the thing. I don't think JJ's a game manager, but it is fair to say that considering what he was asked to do at Michigan in most of their games. There were a few games he had to really go out on a limb and win the game, but you're right. I mean, you got a guy like Blake Corum back there handing off the ball to him. Like that's a lot like what Brock Purdy is being asked to do right now.
And they're not going to ask him to throw it 50 times a game, 45 times a game,
Mm-hmm.
No.
No doubt. Well, looking kind of over to the Chiefs and that offense, obviously it's been a real up and down year for them, man. When it comes to always wide receivers just dropping balls, Mahomes not looking the best, not really able to run the ball. And then, man, just playoff lights turned on, Travis Kelce turned on, and they're a hot team. But what do you think for the offense? Do you think it's going to be really kind of Isaiah Pacheco and like he's really going to kind of carry that load, or do you think it's just going to turn into a sling fest and Mahomes is just going to throw it for 350 and, Travis Kelce may have 150 yards?
Probably a sling fest, man. I mean, let's be real, dude. You got to let your playmakers go out there and play ball. I mean, this Chiefs team is a little bit more game control style than the teams of past, because they have a stronger defense, because they have a stronger run game. it's just hard for me to imagine that Patrick Mahomes is going to go out there in the Super Bowl and just not let it rip, though, you know? So I feel like we're going to see north of 300 out of Mahomes.
That's kind of one of the things he said earlier in the year. He said like he had to learn to be more of like to depend on the defense and, you know, play for the defense and not just, you know, go out there and sling it all around. It's pretty interesting, man, how he's growing up as a football player. He's legit.
No doubt.
Yeah, only needs what, like 7 more Super Bowl appearances to get to my man Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Well,
Which he still has time.
Michigan boy, huh?
Had to slide that one in there for you.
That's been a very hot topic the past, the past week or so on this channel, but we'll stay away from that. Coop gets a little flustered about
I might jump to the screen if someone says
it's okay. But you know, obviously covering Michigan yourself, kind of getting a little away from the Super Bowl. Obviously, the big Harbaugh making that jump, and as well as bringing a lot of those dudes with him. What do you think that really impact is going to be on Michigan, and how do you think Harbaugh and obviously I can't think of the DC's name, but how do you think they're really going to do out there in Charger land?
Yeah, Jesse Minter is the guy that you're talking about there.
Yep.
Jesse Minter's a freaking genius, dude, and Harbaugh's a genius for bringing a genius along with him. You know, yeah, you asked about the impact it has on Michigan. Well, it's not good. I can tell you that. Like losing your head coach and then him systematically, you know, picking off like, you know, 4 or 5 other guys. Like it's not good. One of the hardest hits we took was strength and conditioning coach Ben Herbert. He was like our secret weapon. And when Harbaugh took him, there was like a shockwave throughout the Michigan program. It's been tough. And so all eyes are on Sharon Moore, you know, first-time head coach. And, you know, some people are stressing, some of the Michigan faithful are stressing about things. But to me, like, I feel like we're playing with house money at this point. You know what I mean? Like, we won a natty, dude. Like, it's funny how like a couple years ago, you know, people are saying like, oh, I'd give up a decade of irrelevance just for one natty. And now you win a natty and these dudes can't even make it through February without finding something to get upset about, you know? But, yeah, I'll tell you what, on the pro side, since we're talking pro football, I think Harbaugh's going to win some games, man. I actually think he's got a shot at making a run at the Super Bowl, which sounds crazy, but the talent that's on that team, bringing in Jesse Minter on the defensive side of the ball, bringing in some of the other guys he's bringing in, Harbaugh knowing how to be like a CEO, you know, that's what a head coach is really. It's like a CEO. Like he knows how to do that. It'll be interesting to see what he gets out of Justin Herbert.
And I was about to bring that up. He's a quarterback guy. He produces good quarterbacks, and you know, you pair him up with Justin Herbert, man. Come on, they're gonna.
It was one of the assistant coaches, and I don't know if it was with the 49ers or when he was back in Michigan, but he said I think it was when he was at the 49ers. He came in and like the first meeting he had with the players, the position coach, he came in. He sat there for like 30 minutes and then walked out, and he said he never came back. He was just like, okay, you know what you're doing, do it. And I'm going to do everything else. You know, he lets the coaches coach. Yeah. And I think that's a big thing, especially in the NFL, because it's, you know, everyone's grown, you know.
Sure. Well, before we let you get out of here, the big prediction. Who do you got winning down in the fourth quarter? Las Vegas. First Super Bowl in Las Vegas. They're going crazy about it being in Las Vegas, by the way, too. Everyone's in Vegas. They're just like, it needs to like stay in Vegas.
That sphere is awesome.
I can't imagine.
Oh, no. Yeah. The Radio Row is awesome. I want to go there next time the Super Bowl goes there. But who do you got winning? And then a little score prediction for us.
All right, man. So I think it's going to come, you know, right around the 2-minute warning. Niners are going to take a lead. Let's say Christian McCaffrey punches it in, kind of like we saw late against the Lions. You know, so Niners take a lead. Mahomes gets the ball back. Mahomes drives it down. 36 seconds left on the clock. Mahomes gets the score. Everybody's going crazy. They're showing Taylor Swift in the stadium. You know, she's cheering for Kelsey. And then our man Brock Purdy gets the ball back. Little special teams play, gets him some nice field position. He gets it down to like the 37-yard line. And my man from Michigan, Jake Money Moody, the kicker, in his rookie year, hits the game winner at the end. Niners win it by 1 point.
That's the best ending I've ever
That
had.
was the best one.
That was
Yes.
that was the best one we've had.
I love it.
Hey, but honestly, guys, if I'm gonna bet money, I'm not betting against Mahomes. I just really want to see, so that Mahomes getting the lead at the end, like that's gonna happen. Let's be real. If they're within one score, that dude's getting it in the end zone. I just want to see my man Jake Moody hit that game winner.
Hit the game winner, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, man,
awesome.
We appreciate you joining us. Talk some Super Bowl preview. Everyone watching, go tune in to Wolverine Chronicle. Team's got a lot that still's got to be figured out. So he's always on top of it for you over there. So if you're a Michigan guy or just a college football guy, go tune in over to his Twitter. Go follow what he's got to say. But we appreciate you joining us, man.
Yeah, thank you guys. Let's do it again soon.
Thanks a lot, Michael.
We'll see
Yep.
you.
Yeah.
Later, guys.
That was, of course, the man, Michael Smeltzer, Wolverine Chronicle, joined
I like
us.
that ending. He had me wanting to see the ending like that.
Man, and that was awesome, but I'm shocked what just came across my Twitter feed, guys.
What?
The coach of the year.
Who?
Browns head coach, Kevin Stefanski.
Yeah, I can see that.
Wow.
That's ridiculous.
D'Amico's awesome though. It don't take away from nothing, so. But he went through a lot, and it's the Browns, bro. It's the Browns.
Bro, the Texans had 3
with
wins
losing their
last year, too.
quarterback and having to go get a guy that was sitting on a couch that's 40 years old.
Yeah. Well, looking a little other Texans news that just came out, they're just going crazy on NFL tonight. Texans wide receiver Andre Johnson headed to the Hall of Fame officially, the first member in first member in franchise history to become part of the Hall of Fame. So
It was good, man.
Definitely deserves
good
it.
for him. Good for him. Good for those guys winning it. Everyone.
JJ will be the next one. I mean, who else?
Yeah.
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 But Twitter's going crazy over this. Browns head coach winning it. I can't wait to see that later and listen to all those talk shows. But before the man, Mike Hardge, joins us, it is that time for us to give you our winner, our score, and of course, what Big Boy's got the over-under. Coop, I'm going to start off with you. Who do we got winning? Who's going to be that game changer? And what do you got the score being?
I mean, I've said it. I'll say it again. And, now I'm not putting any money on it because I'm like we said, you can't bet against Patrick Mahomes, and you either have to be with him or not bet at all. We've said that plenty of times. So I'm not betting on this one at all, but I'm going to go with the 49ers, and I think Brock Purdy plays good enough to get it done. And, like I said in the Tuesday show, you got Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Ayuk, Kittle. You got that offense. Hopefully that defense can play a little bit better than what they have been. Like that D-line, the 49ers D-line should be like top of the top with the names that they had on the two ends. Come on. But
score.
I'm gonna go 49ers 27, Chiefs 24.
Okay.
Win by 3. Yeah.
Big boy. What?
I have the exact same score, but flipped. I have the Chiefs winning. And the Chiefs might, if it is going to be a bigger blowout, I have the Chiefs scoring more than that. I have the Chiefs scoring like 35, 27, 24.
I'll add on to that real quick. If it's a blowout, the Chiefs are winning. I don't think the 49ers blow out the Chiefs. I can see the Chiefs blowing out the 49ers way more than I can see the 49ers blowing out the Chiefs.
I do see the Chiefs really going against that defense and exposing them. And I do see them getting pressure on Brock and making him come back to reality.
Yeah.
I like it. Obviously that's Big Boy's over. If you can't add
I got
it
the
together, that's the over. Close it out. I'm going to go the Chiefs as well. I'm going to go 35-24. I got a double.
See, and that's what I was thinking. I was literally about to say that exact score.
I got a double-digit victory, man. But that is our picks. We hope it goes right on the Sports Roundtable.
Oh, hey, and another one. The under on the national anthem. Just saying. The girl that or the person that's singing. No. The person that's singing it has averaged under the time that they have all 5 times they've sang. Just saying.
Okay, whatever.
Just a good staff.
Purple Gatorade. For you degenerates.
All that stuff is so weird that you can bet on.
It's awesome.
It's
wild.
Awesome.
They make so much money.
You have to be an addict to bet on that. But coming up next is going to be figuring out the 40 with the man, Mike Hardge. Joining us now is the man, Mike Hardge, current host of the Hardge Knocks Life on AM 1300 The Zone and the iHeart Radio app. My man, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I thank y'all for having me. I appreciate it. Love what you guys are doing. You keep bringing a different angle to everybody. I always try to compute it to the simple fact of the common folk, right? Because we have the people that are dialed in, really trying to be part of the social media, being part of the media, and then we have the fan perspective. And as somebody who's been on both sides of it, I love the fan perspective because we don't have to be politically correct all the time.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So keep up the great work. And I appreciate it every time that you guys reach out to me and want to have me on the show, because I always want to be part of not only the media part of it, but I really want to be part of the fan perspective, because we all look at it differently, right? So we can always bring a different perspective. And I appreciate the fact that we could chop it up. This is one of those forums where we don't have to be those guys. We can be the guys. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you guys.
Man, well, we appreciate you joining us again. Obviously been on with us once before, but now this is our new little segment. We like to call it Figuring Out the 40. Everything has to do with Texas sports going on right now. And of course, we'll talk some Super Bowl as well towards the end. Obviously, the big weekend coming up. But we'll kind of get right off to it. We got a little bit of questions for each sport on the 40 acres for everyone watching. But to get it going, obviously, spring ball going to be here before we know it, right? The guys are working out, getting going. What are your kind of thoughts on the roster going into the spring? And what positions kind of would you like to see Sark maybe address after this spring ball period is over?
Well, we had a conversation yesterday about the press conference that Sark had. It was a unique situation because of the simple fact that they didn't sign anybody in the spring, which was something that is rare. Obviously, we have the 2 signing periods, so it's a really unique opportunity for some of these kids to really dial in to what is going on. So it was, I was like, damn, I didn't realize that Texas didn't sign anybody. It was more about the transfers. But for me, when you start to break down this University of Texas football team, you start looking at the quarterback position. And I was glad that he silenced everybody that had been talking about Quinn Ewers versus Arch Manning. We all know that because we're in tune to what's going on, but the national media was looking at it as a bigger story than what it truly was. Well, then you go into the running back position and you're like, okay, who's going to take over for what Jonathan Brooks was able to do? Obviously, Jaden Blue has done a great job. CJ Baxter was the original starting running back. But then you also look at the wide receiver position, the safety position, the linebacker position, and most importantly, as somebody, and you guys pay a lot of attention to it, you look at that defensive line position. So for Sark to address some of those moments and bringing in different guys from Arizona. And then you also look at the guys that have been here. I think that has been the biggest conversation. Everybody looks at the transfer portal as one thing, but I also look at the guys that have been here at the 40 acres, guys that have some skin in the game, some tape on film. And you sit there, you say, you bring up an Alfred Collins, you bring up Baron Sorrell. You look at these positions and you're like, okay, Vernon has already been brought in. You know, these are guys that have been a part of this program for a while that understand what it's all about. So for me, that has been a huge conversation piece. And then, of course, the back end. Sark addressed it yesterday during his social media and his press conference. He was talking a lot about the back end, you know, Makuba from LBJ that have been able to come in from Clemson to be a major part of what's going on. So he's addressed every level of this team that somebody lost or somebody that ended up transferring out or entered the draft. I thought Sark did a great job of addressing each position with a player that is going to be a major part of the success.
Agreed. Again, we're joined by Mike Hardge, host of the Hardge Knocks Life on AM 1300 The Zone. Any insight on, you know, Sark's new hires and Brandon Harris is the GM, and what, to your understanding, is that position really going to be about?
Well, the thing that I like about it is Sark addressed it too during his press conference. He talked about the cerebral part of it, what it's like to be in that position. It's so crazy to me that we're talking about a person at a college level that is now a quote unquote GM in that position, because, you know, you look at the NFL, you're always trying to address different things, right? You're like, how do we get this guy? How do we look at this guy? Well, now we're looking at college athletics and being able to say, hey, you know what? We need to address this position like we would in the NFL. That is the thing that has been very impressive to me. Sark talked about the fact that Brandon Harris was a quarterback. He thinks like him. He's competitive like him. He can associate with the conversation as far as coming into living rooms. If he can't be there, he wants to make sure that he can handle those moments. And to me, looking at college athletics and looking at it as a professional sport now is huge. And I was fortunate enough, I was drafted out of high school in baseball, but we still didn't know. We still didn't know at that time. I didn't have advisors. I didn't have an agent at that time because I couldn't deal with that. I had to deal with my high school coach, who I love him to death, and Glenn Cunningham is one of my favorite people on earth to this day. But that's not what he was there for. He was trying to make sure I was a good baseball player at that time. He was also my quarterback's coach. He wanted me to be a great quarterback to lead his team. Now we're in a different position in this recruiting cycle to where it's like, hey, man, you got to understand the ins, the outs, the ebbs and flows, the mindset of these young players. So for Brandon Harris to take over that, being a quarterback, but most importantly, being a leader, that helps Coach Sark out at a whole nother level. And as far as the players that he's brought in, I think Sark has addressed it in the proper manner. When you sit back and you look at who we need to replace, if one of you guys were to decide to go elsewhere and expand your professionalism, how do we replace you to say, all right, we got to make sure that we bring that same type of personality to be able to fit in with what we do? That's a hard job for anybody. We all do other businesses besides just this. So you always got to make sure that the chemistry is proper. We can bring in a guy and I'm going to use this person's name, and I really don't care if he likes it or not, we could bring in an Urban Meyer. There's going to be a lot of people that are like, I ain't got time for Urban Meyer. I don't want to deal with that person. But if we bring in a person that can be in this conversation and also bring it back to civilization, it is an important part. And I think Sark addressed it yesterday when he was talking about Brandon Harris and what he brings as a former quarterback, thinks like him, talks like him, and can be in a room for him. Those are the things that we all look forward to as professionals.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it right there. I think Sark's, exceeding everything with hiring and recruits, with all of that. But let's flip it to basketball. Basketball's 1-4, 4 games. I know, 1-4 in the past 4 games. What are your thoughts on where their program is right now, and what do they need to change? The tournament's in about a month, so what do they need to change to get there?
Well, the one thing that I've always looked at, and it is something that we all admire from afar, but we also are very critical, is the athleticism, right? So we all appreciate these great athletes that come into the University of Texas. You go to Kansas, go to K-State, any team in the Big 12, you got some great athletes. But the execution of the offense is the most important part of it. And you got to be able to play some defense on the other side. So for me, as we look at this Texas basketball team and what RT is been able to bring to the table, you brought up the record, but they did go 3-3 in that stretch in a 16 matchup where every team was ranked.
Yeah, they could have been 0-6 right there.
They could have been 0-6. Yeah. They could have went 6-0.
Right.
They could have been 4-2. So you look at it, there's a possession here and a possession there, a rebound here and a rebound there. You start to look at this team and you're like, okay, what can we do to mesh the chemistry? Excuse me. It's a very, very difficult thing. It's different in football. It's different in baseball. Basketball is all about chemistry. And sometimes you hit a home run with it, and sometimes you have to punt. And right now, they're trying to figure out if we're going to hit a home run, or we punting, or we going on for 4th down, or are we trying to bunt and move the guy over? Right now, that is what the team is going through. And that, as a fan, is the most frustrating part, because you look at the game as a whole. Look at the game as a whole, and you're like, man, we've had a lot of positive situations that have happened. But then you look at it in the microcosm of it, and you're like, damn, we should have did this better. We could have done this better, and we should have done this. And that is where a lot of fans that don't take the time to look at it the way that we do, you're like, oh, Texas went 3-3. Let's fire Rodney. And I'm like, I've been talking a lot about this lately. Sometimes as fans, we've got to understand that these players need to be held more accountable than just the coaching, because all of us, we have not been in any of these coaching meetings. We have not been in any of the game planning meetings. We have not been in those timeouts where you draw up a play. I've seen some high school things recently that I'm like, there ain't no way in hell this dude drew up that play. But I've also seen in some of these meetings when these kids come out and they're still conversating. And I'm like, you didn't pay attention to what the coach just told you. Because that is how I look at it. Because we all look at body language. We all look at how we come out and we look at the conversations. And that is the one thing that I'm challenging these players. Be more attentive to what's being told to you instead of what you think we should be doing.
Agreed. Yeah. And I think, You know, they were in all those games besides BYU. They had a chance to win. You know,
BYU was my birthday weekend, and I was
that was a bad weekend.
Oh, that was an awful game, man.
Again, we're joined by Mike Hardge, host of the Hardge Knocks Life on AM 1300 The Zone and iHeart Radio. Switching it over to women's basketball, what are your thoughts on how good Vic and the squad have been doing without Rory? And how far do you think they can really make a run in March? Can we see a Final Four out of them, you think?
I don't know if we'll see a Final Four, but this is one of the things that I really, really want to drive home. I think Vic needs to stop doing the, oh, woe is me type of deal. I think these women that he recruits are elite level people. Rory Harmon being out is absolutely one of the most awful things that could have happened to this basketball team. But what he does is he recruits well. So for anybody that's involved in these types of situations, I'm always looking at the fact that I look at what you've done recruiting. Rory Harmon, elite level. Did we all expect Rory Harmon to be that person? No. Did we think Rory Harmon was going to be one hell of a player? Absolutely. Well, now you back it up with a Madison Booker. Madison Booker she's up for the player of the year. So she's not a normal player. So you add Rory Harmon, excuse me, Rory Harmon with a Madison Booker, and then you bring back Aaliyah Moore. And then I've been really impressed with what I've seen from Taylor Jones. Oh my God. I didn't know that she was that good. I was, because Vic has been selling me on Rory. He's been selling me on Madison Booker. But let's look at what Taylor Jones has been able to do. You bring in Aaliyah Moore, who's coming back from her injury. And don't whole mouth me every single week when you're at the University of Texas and you are recruiting the elite of the elite. I get it. It is an awful situation what happened to Rory. But, bro, it ain't like you were at the Salvation Army bringing some people in that oh, my God, I can't believe Vic is doing what he's doing. Bro, you have some elite talent. Just continue to coach them up. I give their coaching staff a lot of credit because they have all elevated their game, because it's bad to sit back and wait for one person to be the leader of it all. But, man, look, don't tell me that your team ain't good, man. I'm tired of listening to that.
I love it. I love it. Well, I mean, hopefully they are able to make that run, especially if the men's team is not going to turn it around here coming up. But looking over to your sport, my sport, we could say baseball coming next week, man. It's here. It's finally here. Kind of, what are your thoughts on the team as a whole, kind of going into the start of the season? And what do you think is kind of the team's biggest strength at the start of the year?
Well, I would think that, you sit back and you look at this Texas baseball team. I'm always looking at the mindset of the pitching staff. You know as well as I do, if you don't have pitching, you can't always outscore every single team that you play against. You definitely have to be able to throw strikes and play good defense behind you. You start looking around and seeing what's going to happen. It's unfortunate what happened to Luke Storm and him not being there. I mean, think about that name, number one. I mean, golly. And then you hear about him being 6'5", 230 pounds. I mean, oh my God, look at Thor, everybody. His name is Luke Storm. He was a superhero. How much fun would the Texas baseball fans and Occupy Left Field be able to have with that young man? But you sit there and you try to figure out, what can we do differently? Pitching is going to be A1 all the time. Tanner Witt is getting his velocity back, but then you look at the Big 12 preseason pitcher of the year with LeBaron Johnson. I think all of us can be in accord right now when we say we expect a lot from him. You bring in Porter Brown in the outfield, then you move around a couple different players. You got some great high school recruits that are coming in. And then let's not forget Troy Tulowitzki's influence on this team is going to be a huge, huge deal. I know Coach Pierce and what he's been through, and him being able to come back in and be that pitching coach and dealing with the pitchers. I understand that. But to me, the biggest influence, and I know Coach Pierce will probably be pissed off hearing this, but Troy Tulowitzki being this person, and as a professional baseball player, when I signed with the University of Texas, I thought every single day prior to that about going to Omaha and playing in the College World Series, but I also is in a room with Vince Young, Kevin Durant, whoever you want, insert superstar, and sit in a room with them. How many people, all three of you would want to be in those conversations?
Yeah.
To go there.
The baseball talk is real cute, guys, but let's go over to the real sport with the ball and the bat, and that's softball. Those are my girls, all right? Big softball fan. No, but they come out, they're ranked number 5.
Love it. Love it.
Pretty good. Bunch of experience coming back. What are your thoughts on this year's team and what they can do, and do you think they can finally dethrone freaking OU, man?
Man, that's the hardest thing. I mean, it's like anything else. It's like football. When you talk about Big 12 championships, everybody's like, "Oh, Texas." I'm like, man, did you not hear Bob Stoops talk about all them Big 12 championships in our office? It's the same thing that the softball coach can say. It is very difficult to beat a team like Oklahoma. She is like the mafia up there. You come up here, you're going to leave with some legs missing or an arm missing. You're going to have to deal with it. But Mike White, what he's been able to do with this softball team, the time and the effort and the transfers and the different players that he recruits, I think if Texas can't get to Oklahoma this year, I don't know if they're ever going to be able to get to Oklahoma, especially going into the SEC. This is your last year in the Big 12. You have all these players. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think they might have had 5 players on the all Big 12 team. If you can't get to Oklahoma now, I don't know if you're ever going to get to Oklahoma. But the beautiful thing about it is you may not beat them in the Big 12 conference, but when they get to the tournament, somebody else might knock them off. And you have that conversation. So for me, Mike White being able to get his team in that position, for me, for Texas to be successful in softball, they got to be able to throw strikes and play some good defense. They're going to hit. Oklahoma's going to hit. Other teams are going to hit. But if Texas can go in there and throw strikes, not walk a lot of people, because we've seen that happen with them, but go in there and throw strikes and play some doggone good defense, Texas will be just fine.
Hope so.
No doubt. We'll see. I was there at the World Series this past year, and those were some intense games up there in Oklahoma.
One of my good friends, his daughter is Saunders, and she was the one that was the MVP of the tournament, Big 12 tournament. Oh. And she came from Arizona State, and her dad, Tracy, played professional baseball against me, and then we had one season together. So I totally get it, man. I totally get
it. Well, closing it out here, kind of our last question with the man, of course, Mike Hardge, the host of Hardge Knocks Life on AM 1300 The Zone. Obviously, we know what weekend it is. Biggest football weekend of the year when it comes to the NFL. Kind of what is your Super Bowl thoughts and your kind of score prediction at the end of it?
Well, the biggest thing for me is I was hoping and glad to see that the Kansas City Chiefs were an underdog. I was like, yes, because that gives them an opportunity to be motivated going into the game. I am shocked by the fact that they are a team that is the underdog in this situation. The only reason why I say that is when you look on paper, San Francisco is the best team by far. Look at each position as you go through the line, besides quarterback, besides tight end, and besides head coach. Those are the positions that you would give the Kansas City Chiefs the edge through. But when you look at it and you have number 15, I'm like Ric Flair, until you become the man, you have to beat the man. And if you can't beat the man, you are not the man. So up until everybody beats Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, I got to roll with them. Because did any of you, the last time we had these conversations, look at the Kansas City Chiefs at that moment and say, I think Kansas City is going to run away with it?
Nope.
None of us thought that.
No.
They couldn't even catch passes.
Mhm.
They led the league in drops.
Yeah.
And now they are back in the Super Bowl, and legacy on the line. I believe that Andy Reid, if they win this game, is walking away from the NFL. And I wouldn't be mad at him. So to answer your question, I am taking Kansas City +2, Kansas City money line, and I'm taking the over 47.5.
Wow.
I love it. I love it.
I like it. I like that. I'm right there with you.
We've been talking. Patrick Mahomes is turning into like a Tom Brady in the playoffs, where
You can't bet against him.
him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Until he loses, you
Exactly.
can't bet against him.
Like I bet against him twice, against the Bills and the Ravens, and lost both times. So we're betting against them. That's it.
Exactly.
Well, man, we really appreciate you coming on and joining us for this Figuring Out the 40 segment. We love it, man. Keep doing you. If everyone watching, go tune in to Hardge Knocks Life. They're great every morning. Get the morning started over there with them. But, man, we appreciate you joining us once again.
As always, I thank y'all for having me on. I appreciate the fact of what y'all do. And as we always talk about, when you have an opportunity to spread the word about Texas athletics or anything that you're passionate about, continue to do so, because I promise you, there's somebody listening, whether it's good or bad. We always have people listening. So keep up the great work, guys. I appreciate y'all having me on. And as always, hit me up whenever y'all need me.
Yes, sir.
Thanks a lot, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate y'all. Keep it up.
You too.
Sir.
All right. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
That was the man of the hour, Mike Hardge.
Great interview, man. He came with it, man. He sure did.
He knows all the Texas sports, man.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
He's locked in.
No doubt.
Yeah,
no
y'all are
doubt.
excited for this baseball season, huh? They LBJ back, and it's gonna be good, man.
No, it's going to be a good one, man. And it was a great episode. And good luck following the Super Bowl this weekend. If y'all are betting on it, enjoy it. Remember, it's not about the score, but it's about how much money you got on the game.
Ring that bell.
Ring that bell, like, subscribe, do everything. Man, it was a good one. But stay tuned for the Tuesdays on the Edge action. And Coop,
Super Bowl recap.
Super Bowl recap. Coop, close them out real quick, man. Give them your freaking just Brock Purdy hot take real quick.
Well,
real
no,
quick.
we're going to see. We're going to find out what Brock Purdy's made of. And I hope he comes out and he proves me wrong. I hope he comes out and plays like the best quarterback in the league. And then we'll come on Tuesday and I'll say that to y'all's face. But, you know, I hope – I don't want to see the Chiefs win again. I really don't. So that's why I'm going to rock.
You hate greatness. I get it.
I don't hate greatness.
Some people do.
No, it's just when you start winning, you turn into the devil. And that someone asked Patrick Mahomes that the other day. They said, you know, you're winning a lot and people are starting to, you know, think you're the devil. And he's like, as long as I'm winning, I'm okay.
Yeah.
But it's true. I mean, the more you win, who wants to see him win 2 Super Bowls in a row? Not me. I don't. So,
Well, we appreciate all of our special guests on this episode, man. They were great. Super Bowl squares. Got a couple more days. Get those locked in. There's a couple more spots left. Fill it in. And there you go, big boy. I got it up there for you. Ring that
Look
bell,
at that.
baby.
We're getting professional around here. Y'all better watch out. Y'all better watch out.
We appreciate y'all tuning in. Make sure you tune in for Tuesdays on the Edge, and we'll of course give you our overreactions from the Super Bowl. But until then,
Super Bowl weekend, baby.
Peace.
Have a good one.